Hello there. This is Lopan Yudron from Nakchon Gatsel, the Happy Garden of Practitioners in Oakland, California. How are you today? Feel free to throw a comment in the box. Say hi. For me, it's a box, up in the upper right-hand corner. The live commenting is active. So I made up the topic for this talk, and it's going to be a talk and meditation today. How do we let Dharma penetrate our hearts? How does it really touch us? How does it really change us? And on the one hand, you could have people who might say, well, it's meditation is how Dharma touches your heart. You really have to practice. Well, hello there, Timothy, from far away. And on the other hand, you think scholars might think, you really have to know the principles of Buddhism for it to touch your heart, right? And then people who are really into vows may think, well, you really have to make a promise or a vow. If you're going to change anything about yourself, you have to, we have these core, sort of basic vows, not harming, which relate to not harming anyone. So they'd think, oh, that's how it really touches your heart. And all of that is true. I feel it has to be combined. You can meditate till the cows come home, and I have, and get really super relaxed, at least while you're on the cushion, until somebody crosses you, right? And you can study the Dharma and be a nervous wreck and unable to enact any of those principles because you don't practice. And you can really have excellent conduct, but not really have this, get really rigid about it, not have the spacious mind of a practitioner. So we have to bring all these aspects together. In a way, that's the view, meditation, and conduct that they talk about in the Dharma. Hey, Lori, nice to see you, guys. So view being this little philosophical outlook, and meditation being the practice, and then the conduct is the conduct. So those three come together that way. And I'd like to go through some practices together that are familiar to you guys who are watching right now. It may or may not be familiar to you guys who are watching later. And a big shout out to you guys who watch later in the week. Feel free to throw comments at any time or reach out to me in any way you like. I enjoy doing these talks. I look forward to it all week long. Because Dharma has touched me so much. So it completely transformed my mind and my life. Not like I'm some holy person, but I'm a Dharma person. And I can say that. I'll give myself that, I'm on the path. So usually I have like 8 pages of notes. I'll kind of confess that I'll study a lot, and really, especially when we're just doing something, textually based. That means from books. This time these are my notes. 3 not even round circles. And what are they? Well, this is just what popped into my mind intuitively when this topic came up for me. And the first word that popped into my mind as the way that, and without thinking about it, as a way that Dharma penetrated my heart may surprise you. There's a Tibetan word that I just love that's called nyam ni. And nyam in this spelling means even or equal. And ni means yes, ness, yes, and ness. So the sort of the quality of evenness, equalness, and I feel this is can sometimes go missing if we're totally stressing compassion and meditation together, which is the main message about Buddhism that is, thank goodness, going out into the world, all over the world today through the likes of the Dalai Lama and the Thich Nhat Hanh, Pema Chödrön. These are the most well-known Dharma teachers, I think, known to Westerners anyway. And they stress these things, again and again, for all human beings, not only Buddhists. Calm down and develop more compassion. Who can argue with that? But I'm not going to argue with that. But if we're really entering into the Buddhism, I mean, if we're trying to become a Buddha ourselves, to really awaken, we need to iron that out a little bit. Flatten it out a little bit is what I want to say, because it's so easy to have compassion for the underdog or animals, the trod upon, and for some kinds of kind people it is. And it's easy to develop sidedness, whether you become politicized about your compassion, that this group of people, yeah, I feel compassion, but this group of people, now, this group of people, oh, I definitely feel compassion. It's real easy. And this other group of people, well, they'll come later, right? And someday I'll get around. Yeah. And that's not good enough for Buddha. If anything is not good enough for Buddha, I'm not 100% sure that anything is not good enough for Buddha. But if that's not our standard. Our standard is this evenness or equalness that goes beyond, like, I'm not talking exclusively about human rights or lack of prejudice for any kind of person. That's wonderful. But still, you can develop a kind of fixation even on that. Instead, really expanding your range, your family, in a way, to include every living sentient being, beings with mind, and there are intermediate beings. People debate slime molds and so forth. They're amoebas, and whether they're sentient or not, but we don't need to go into the details on that. So how do we develop this? Well, I've talked about before immeasurables, the boundless states, and I'm going to put a link in here after the fact, after this turns into a video, with a link to, I made a collection of all the teachings I've done here, to the best of my ability, on the precious bodhicitta, the heart mind of awakening, and how to develop it. And in there you'll see these 4 immeasurables, and it's evenness or equality, wisdom. Evenness is definitely in there, how to train in that. But it really can be so simple. And this is the thing I loved about the preliminary practices, in Tibetan Buddhism, is that they bring everything down to some very simple images, and sometimes coupled with sounds and reciting something, sometimes coupled with movements in your body, that bring together contemplation sort of without thinking a lot, but having a framework, a container for this development of evenness into one big package, one big practice that's actually very simple. And what I was thinking of is in our foundational practices, and you can do this whether you're in Tibetan Buddhist or any kind of, or just someone who loves the Buddha or Kuan Yin, Tara, Chenrezig, Avalokiteshvara. You going for refuge, which we do every day, is done with a visualization. And whether it's simple or elaborate, the main point is that the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are in the space in front of you, maybe a little higher than you. And you're there. Let's do this together. So imagine the symbolic deity of awakening that you love the most, that you feel a natural kinship to. If there is one that you visualize. If not, you can use a garden Buddha. And put that figure down in front of you. Tara, like I said, Avalokiteshvara, Kuan Yin. And imagine that all your female relatives are on your left. Your mother and all your female relatives are on your left-hand side. For now, you're just standing there. And then on your right-hand side is your father and all your male relatives. And then in front of you is all your friends and companions and loved ones. And then way down in front near the Buddha is the people, your enemies. And then in all directions, then spreading out from the Buddha, like in a great, this is where the circle comes in, like in a great circle, infinite circle. We're all living beings. Animals, insects, humans. Try to imagine that. Where are the fish going to swim? Where are the birds going to fly? How are you going to work them in? All of them. That's a lot. Spreading out. And so as you take refuge in the Buddha, you go for refuge in the Buddha, Guru Rinpoche, whoever, someone you just trust. The figure that you thought, if I could go back, and they always ask you in those job interviews, if you could have dinner with anybody in the whole world, past, present, or future, who would you want to do it with? That one, who's, hopefully not, Natalie Wood. Nothing wrong with Natalie Wood, but if it's Natalie Wood, she better have attained Buddhahood by now. So then we all bow together to the Buddha, like a field of wheat with a breeze going across it, and all the heads bob down one after another. We all go like this. And say, I take refuge. So you're bringing everybody with you, in other words, into your world to take refuge with you. And then you're generating the mind of awakening, the bodhicitta. It contains compassion, it contains the knowingness of emptiness. It contains that even concern, equal concern. So for when we're all focused in that original circle, Didn't mean to draw this for you, but here I am. It's kind of a vertical orientation, right? We're all like this towards the Buddha. Then the next thing is making a horizontal visualization. Really focus more on all the sentient beings. As far as the eye can see and beyond where the eye can see, just arrayed out in space. And have one equal concern for all of them. Whether they've been naughty or nice. And, say, for the sake of all living beings, I will attain supreme enlightenment and lead each and every one to that same state. And as you do that, the Buddha in front of you smiles and looks at you and goes, yeah, yeah. And all light rays spread out, blessing each and every sentient being. In this and all other worlds. And as they are touched by that light, each and every one is released from suffering. And that light touches you too. So this corresponds to like the whole of Dharma, wrapped up into one. We haven't so much embodied at this point the emptiness aspect. But the appearing aspect, we've really covered that, right? Not so hard. And then the next step, this goes into the tantric Buddhism, but it's still really simple. And actually, there are a few practices that are somewhat like this in the Theravadan, esoteric Theravadan, and I've heard in Korean Zen. You now, once you fly up and merge with your Buddha figure, and then you become that Buddha. And whether you're sitting or standing, picture yourself. Look at your eyes. What color are your eyes? You're insubstantial and made of light. And yet the appearance is distinct. And those light beams that were shining and touching every sentient being, they came from your heart. Now look, it's your circle. Everything, this whole world and beyond becomes your sacred circle. That's what mandala means. Center and periphery. You're at the center. Your awareness, wisdom is at the center. And you are nothing. There's nothing there about an I story with history and even aspirations, you're already 100% awakened. In that awakening, so much compassion bursts from your heart automatically. There's no limit to it anymore. Send light rays out to all the other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the world. Make offerings to them. You could have offering goddesses carrying all kinds of baskets full of goodies at the tips of the light rays. They might even have baskets full of more offering goddesses who have baskets full of more offering goddesses who have goodies. And the goodies don't matter to all those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. It's the act of offering. So imagine you're offering and these light rays are going out. And maybe the offering goddesses are swimming out in the light rays with their goodie bags, offering them to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, wherever they may be. And then the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they send light rays back to you. They're blessing light rays. And when those light rays touch you as the deity or Buddha or awakened one, they touch your heart, the light in your heart. And it becomes more bright, brighter than ever before. And again, you radiate light rays out again, and they touch each and every sentient being. And maybe this time each and every sentient being becomes themselves a Buddha, an awakened one. So that's a deity yoga in a nutshell. And it's done as part of the Vajrayana. I think this inner form is pretty unique to Tibet. I don't know much about the Japanese form of Shingon. Somebody can educate me about that, but I think it's outer tantra, so the Buddha is always outside. So this is mostly brought to us by the Tibetans, but there are equivalents in the places I mentioned in the Sutrayana schools, kind of obscure ones. So you're shining. And then the path of these great systems like Dzogchen, and I'd imagine Mahamudra, I don't know much about it, but is that later on, you can drop the whole procedure and just shine. You can drop the ritual, the container, the words, the mantra, the whatever, activities, and just shine. Just be enlightenment. And in that space, didn't you find that your mind was free of concepts? Free of coming to a conclusion about things? This is bad, this is good, I like this, I don't like that, I want this, I don't want that. It's not present in that moment of shining. It's just your pure heart. There's no sadness. There's no anxiety. There's no suffering. You just let it go in an instant. So in this way, this is the way I have found this very simply. I'm working with these different levels all the time. That's all. Do you have any questions before I go? You guys are my friends, right? Today we have the people we have watching live are my friends. Not too unusual. Well, anyway, if you guys in the future have any questions, you can throw them in the comment box. I always read them, or if you have anything to say. And it's been wonderful spending this time with you, being Buddhas. Please, when you feel upset this week, or when you feel really great, just come back to being a Buddha, being this being of empty appearance, free, totally free. Okay? Alrighty. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you next week. Hey, bye-bye.